All right, for this next part, what we're going to do is we're going to copy some of these artboards. In fact, let me do this part real quick. I didn't end up making the other adjustments, so just for sake of argument, we're going to pretend that these are totally different ones, which they're not, but we'll pretend that they were. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to have you copy where it says version 3 or version 2 or 1. I'm going to hold down the Option key and I'm going to hold down the Shift key as I drag. And what that'll do is that'll move this over here. I'm going to change this to revision 1. That's going to be the row that we're going to use for your revisions for the first one. And I'm going to copy these again. So what I'm doing is I'm just highlighting them. I'm pressing the Option key and I'm starting to drag. And as I'm dragging, I'm going to go ahead and then, while my Option key is still held down, I'm going to press the Shift key. What that will do is it'll keep everything on a straight line just to keep this nice and organized. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to also change in here because it's going to be revision for number 2, revision for number 3, revision for number 4, and revision for number 5. So what we're going to play around with first is we're going to play around with some color variations. So you're going to experiment with the different color schemes and start to add in some graphics and some background colors and frames and different things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the one in this phrase 1 that I think has the most potential. So I'm going to start with this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, sorry, I just got a random phone call from my sister. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this artboard tool. That's this one right here. If you press Shift and O, it'll take you right to it. And you click on the one that you want to move. And what I'm going to do is, just like I did with the text above, I'm going to hold down the Option key. I'm going to start to drag, and I'm going to hold down Shift. And I'm going to move that one over. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the other ones here. So if I decide, oh, I like this one, I'm going to click on it with my artboard tool. I'm going to hold my Option key and my Shift, then press Shift and bring it over and line it up here. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hold down my Shift key. Whoops. Actually click with the artboard tool. And if you need help with this, just let me know. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to hold the Option key this time because I don't need a duplicate. I just want to move one over. So basically what I'm doing is I'm choosing whichever one I feel has the most potential. And I'm going to hold down the Option key to copy it. And if it ends up bringing over extra stuff, just delete it. And then later on, I can show you how to line these artboards up if they're not lined up. So I'm going to grab another one. So this is for my version 4. I'm going to bring that over here. And then for my version 5. Now, again, each one of these is going to be different. Mine, I just, stop it. I forgot to hold down the Option key. There we go. And I can get that one over here. So what this is going to do is this gives you now, these are the ones that you're going to focus on. What we're going to do is we're going to make multiple copies of these. So before, one of the things you can do is you can just drag. So I'm going to hold down the Option key. I start to drag, and then I hold down the Shift key as I'm doing that. Then if I hold down the Shift key, I can select both of these, and I'm going to hold down the Option key, and I'm going to drag. So what I'm doing is I'm setting up 4 variations of each one of these. So we're going to start first with just playing around with color schemes. And I'd recommend, if you have not watched the video on the color schemes, I did a short preview of it in class. Definitely watch that, because what you're going to do with this is you're going to experiment with different color schemes, like analogous, complementary. You can use the ones that you've already created or ones that you've found on your Pinterest board. So let me keep going here. This one I had when I set this up with the circle, it overlapped the previous artboard. So that's why I keep getting this additional one. So I'm using the artboard tool, using the Option key to drag, and using the Shift key to keep it straight. I'm going to do the same thing on this last one. Sorry, I keep choosing the wrong tool. There we go. I held down the shift key to select the second one just to make it a little bit easier to move. Come on, get down there. Stop fighting me, mouse. There we go. And if I want to move this one, I can move this one up. And I just noticed it looks like I accidentally clicked with my artboard tool. It looks like there's a tiny, tiny little artboard right there that I want to get rid of. Yep, that's the one. So I'm going to select that so I can delete it. So essentially what you're doing is you're taking the one that you think has the most potential. And what you're going to do now is you're going to color each one using a different color scheme. So a couple different ways to set up your color scheme. One thing you could do is you could open up your Pinterest board and you can grab one of the color schemes that you are, the color palettes that you already found. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that image and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to paste that image in. So maybe I'll utilize this. I'm just going to move this one up and shrink it down. And let me show you how to make a series of color swatches out of this particular colors palette. So what I can do is I can come over here under Window. I can go to Swatches. I can bring the swatches out here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my eyedropper and I'm going to suck up this yellow. I'm going to kind of move it around. Notice that over here, the color is changing quite a bit. So it's going to depend on what color I want. Maybe I'll grab it out of the image. And then once that's there, it shows up. I can choose the plus sign. I'm just going to call that yellow sunset, just name it something. And I'm going to do OK. And then I'm going to come and grab the orange. Going to press the plus sign over here in the swatches. I'm going to grab the kind of magenta color plus. I for eyedropper, going to grab the teal. Double click, teal. And then last one was kind of cyan color plus. Okay. So now, in order to put these in a group, which is going to be useful for when we do recoloring, and I'll explain how to do that later, I'm going to hold down the shift key and I'm going to select those 5 colors that I just pulled from here, and I'm going to put them into a group. So here's a folder. I'm just going to call this sunset. And now they're all in a group. The thing that's awesome with this is going to allow you to go in and make some adjustments really quickly. And also there's this entire thing here under edit. Come on, stop. Under edit, where it's going to allow you to recolor artwork with different swatches automatically. So we're going to be able to do that later on. Right now, this is just a matter of putting those colors in. Now that's one way to grab the colors. Another way to do it would be coming up under Window and going down to Color Themes. I'm going to click on Color Themes, and this may take a moment. Oh, I forgot. They just discontinued that in September. Awesome. That's usually my go-to because it takes you to a website that has colors. In fact, let me show you that website real quick. So if you type in Adobe Color, you hit enter, you can click on this color wheel. This thing's really cool. I really like this thing. You want to make sure that you're logged in. So make sure you have your school account logged in. And now here are colors that are already set. There's the analogous colors. Remember, those are ones where they're next to each other. If you drag these around, it'll let you move them. If you pull them on the inside part, it desaturates the colors. So this is like pure saturation out here, like the most vibrant, versus ones that become a little bit more pastel. So you can generate your own themes this way. You can try monochromatic if you're looking for a single series of colors, where it's just variations of shades, which is black added to text or added to color, or white, which is tints. Triads, complementary colors. You can even look at trends and see ones that other people have already made. These are fashion ones, graphic design ones. So if you wanted one of these, you can do this and you can go to add to library. Or let me go back out here, or if you decide, oh, I like this one, I'm going to add this one to my library. I hit the little plus sign. I put colors. I'm just going to call it PM for personal manifesto and create. And now what that should do, let's test how quick this works at school. It works super fast on my home computer, but school network's a little slow sometimes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back over here into Illustrator, Window, Libraries. This will take a moment to load, but what this does is it opens up the libraries that we kind of worked on a little bit when we did the album cover. And it looks like it has not synced those colors yet. See, it still has all my branding stuff. It has my printer colors, but for some reason, it does not have, oh, there's the color scheme. It just doesn't have the other one yet. So what I can do with this is I can actually drag this once you've downloaded one or you've activated it to your library, and I should be able to. Why is that not loading? Interesting. Let me right click. Let's go ahead and do add color to swatch, add theme to swatches. And it automatically puts the entire folder there. So that's the second way you can get colors in here. Now here's the third way. If you go in here under color guide is set up where you choose a starting color. And then what it does is it gives you variations of colors that are there. It'll show you complementary colors, other series of colors. So as you click through these, you can have a variety of different color scheme settings based on that original color. If you decide you're not liking that, go ahead and choose a different color. And then the colors themes will automatically change. So if you decide, hey, I like this one, I can come up here and do save group to swatch panel, and it shows up. So those are 3 different ways to get color schemes in. All right, so that was a lot of explanation to get you set to do the actual work now. But I think it was important to know because there's 3 different ways of doing it. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to apply a different series of colors. Let me go back to my swatches. So I'll do an example of one. I don't want to do it for all of them. You're going to apply a series of colors, a different color scheme to each one of these 4. And that's all you're doing for right now is just focusing on applying different colors. Now, this may necessitate you actually adding in some kind of shapes to hold colors. Like, for example, if you want this background to have a color, you're going to need to go in, and I would recommend on your layers, make a brand new layer. And I'm just going to double click on the name, and I'm just going to call it BG for background. And I'm going to move layer 1 above the background layer. So I'm going to move this one up here. Nope, not inside. Stop it. There we go. So you see what just happened is it moved it around. So you want it to look like this. You want your layer 1 to have all of your artwork. You want your background to be here because now I can turn off the visibility of that layer, and I can very quickly, if I know I want to put a color behind every one of these, I can select the background layer and I can actually draw a rectangle to fill this entire artboard. And the cool part with this is I don't care about what the color is right now. I can actually do the same thing we did with the artboards. I can just hold down the Option key and then press the Shift key as I'm moving. So it's not at the same time. It's as I start to move, then I hit the Shift. Then I can highlight all of these, hold down the Option key, then press the Shift key and move this over. Then take this entire thing and move it over. Those aren't lined up exactly, so I may have to manually do some adjustments on these, but it's saving you a ton of time just by duplicating instead of having to draw a new one every single time you want to put this on an artboard. So what I'm doing is waiting for the computer to stop freezing. Come on. Oh, go back. So fun. All right. So I'm just going to move these around. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm putting a background on here. The thing that makes this useful is we're going to be able to then change these colors really quickly. And you get to experiment and you get to kind of see, do these colors work well together? So you can decide later on which ones work best. So what I'm going to do is, looks like I added an extra artboard there again. And I'm going to hold down the shift key, select those. I'm going to press the option key and I'm going to grab it from the little dot, start to drag, press shift, and then I can click away and kind of nudge these up. We'll play around with the exact edge and stuff later on, so you'll want to have it fill the entire artboard. But for some reason, man, my computer is achingly slow right now. So hopefully that's not going to be the case for you guys, because I don't want things to slow you down. I want to have you have a chance to play around and see what looks good for you. All right, so once you have these colors set, the thing that's nice is we can turn these back on and then the colors are there. You can also, if you decide, hey, I like this blue, I'm going to leave this blue, but now I want to play around with these, you can lock your background so it doesn't grab it. And now you can go in and you can start to experiment with the text that's in here. Just keep an eye. If it ever shows up with this pencil with a line through it, it means you're currently on the locked layer. Go up to the layer that's not locked, and then you're going to be able to go in, grab your swatches and go, maybe, what does it look like if I do like a light color instead? Does that help? Oh yeah, that's better. And some of these color schemes may not end up working. So you may have to experiment with some others as well. Now, you don't have to stick with every color that's in your original color scheme. If you decide, you know what, maybe I want to experiment with white just to see what that looks like. And you can always zoom out just to see what pops out and what doesn't. Now, right now, we haven't added the graphics in, but there's a lot of things with topography that I would still want to work on. Like, I don't like how there's a big gap between this O and this K. So I'm going to go ahead and click in between the two. I'm holding on the option key and I'm pressing my back arrow. What this does is this gives me control of the exact spacing between the letters. This looks like that R is pretty far away. Pull that one back. That's a little too close. This is called kerning. It's just a topography term that's used to adjust the spacing between individual letter pairs. So you can kind of see the difference between, and it's subtle, but look at the difference between this one and this one. Let me change the colors of this. I'm going to switch to my text tool. So even that, you notice I selected the frames, but if I change, watch what happens if I select the frame and I add a color. You would think, oh, it's going to add color to the text. And it does. Sometimes it will, if it wasn't originally a text box, if it was a picture frame, it would fill the entire background. So just be careful when you work with those. But now looking at this, you can kind of see the subtle difference on the line spacing. The OK, this gap, it looks like you drive a car through that. Having it closer looks nicer. So these are the subtle things we'll end up adjusting. So you'll do something like that, and then you'll go to the next one and play around with a different color scheme. Maybe it's reversing the colors. Maybe it's deciding, you know what, I want to change the color of the background. So I'm going to unlock it and I'm going to change this background and I'm going to try to see what does it look like if I use that purple instead. And then I like locking the background because I find if the background's not locked, every time I click, I end up moving the background instead of the text. So with that being said, this is what you're going to do. You are going to choose one of the three variations that you made that you think has the most potential. You're going to duplicate that over here under the revision, and you're going to have four of them. You're going to choose different color schemes for each one just to see the variations, and then repeat that same process for each one of these. After you're done with that, let me know, and I will show you if you're ahead. I will show you what you're going to start to do with your graphics, and if there's anything that I see in the type that could use a little bit of tweaking or adjustments. I'm really excited to see what you guys make with this, because this is already, listening to the screencast, I can feel how personal some of these things actually are, or how important some of these things are to you. So I think that's huge, because I really want to know what matters to you.